たった一つたった一つのたった一人たった一人の私はここ
So, I've been commenting on it for a while now during this series, but Chise and Elias' relationship was really developed this episode. We got a lot of insight into Elias' character, not so much with Chise, but they made up for that with Chise by showing her slowly more connecting to Elias and just warming up to him in general, but we'll talk about that in a bit. Hello everybody, I am PhenomSage and welcome back to another Ancient Magus' Bride review. Today we're going to be talking about episode 6, the Faerie Queene. Now, stick around to the end of the episode review because I wanted to ask you guys something kind of important, so stay tuned for that at the end, but for now, let's just get into this episode, let's talk. I really just want to start with this relationship that's been developing over the course of this series and now just has made a huge leap in this episode here between Elias and Chise. And something that I was not aware of until it was brought to my attention last episode review, there's actually a bit of a controversy around this relationship between Elias and Chise about how it's kind of weird or kind of wrong that an underage girl is with this mage. And honestly, up until this episode, I really did not see the complaints at all. It was more of a family relationship with Chise under him than anything. Although, in this episode, I can kind of more see where people are coming from with that remark on how it's kind of weird. Although, I don't feel that personally. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm just weird, but I'm really not seeing the controversy around this relationship. Because in this context, it makes complete sense to me. Chise has been mistreated her entire life, so of course when somebody takes care of her and treats her like family, I think it just is the logical conclusion that she would develop feelings for him and care about him. And then Elias made it clear why he bought Chise in the first place during this episode, and we'll get into that. And I am interested to hear about what he meant when he said that he wanted to make her his bride in episode 1. Like, did he already plan on having feelings for her, or did he mean something else by that? Is there a reason, or does he just want to love somebody? We'll talk about that, but I just don't see the issue, and it definitely doesn't take away my enjoyment of these characters and their development and dynamic with each other. Now, we actually learned something really interesting about Elias as a character, and like I just said, why he bought Chise in the first place. Yes, it is because she's a slave beggar and he wanted that unlimited source of magic and to learn to experiment and keep her alive, but that wasn't really why he bought her in the first place, it seems. In the end, we learned that Elias actually bought Chise because he wants to learn to empathize with humans. He's been around for so long and been around so many different humans, but he's never really learned to empathize and care for an individual. So he bought Chise and thought that maybe raising her and living with her would help him care, and as we see in this episode, it actually does quite a bit. On top of all this information that we get about Elias's lack of empathy and his lack of caring for any humans, we also get a brief description and look into his past and his origins. In fact, some of it is explained himself. In the past, I've actually inquired on what Elias actually is. Is he a fairy? Is he a spirit? Did he used to be a human? And in this episode, we get the answers that we needed. We learn that Elias actually did used to be a fairy, but now he doesn't belong to anything. He's not a fairy, he's not a human, he's not a spirit, he's just a wanderer, I guess. And I'm sure there's going to be some backstory regarding this later on in the series about how he lost or how he changed from being a fairy to something else, to a halfling. And there's a lot more interesting dialogue about Elias' past that we get from another character in the later half of the episode that I will talk about in just a second. But what I really enjoyed about this small little story involving Chise not waking up and the fairies is that we get a lot of cool characters that I hope we see again in the future. We see the Faerie Queene, Titania, the Fairy King, Oberon, and what seems to be like their duke or their servant, Spriggan, who's given surprising leniency to attack the king when needed. And all of these designs are really cool. I like their voice actors, I like their personalities themselves, and I really hope that we see them again in the future. A lot of these characters that we've seen in this series so far could go either way. They could be one and done characters, or they could come back in the future, and I hope these characters do come back later on. But what's interesting about this encounter with these people, other than the fact that a lot of the development between Chise and Elias happens talking about kids, talking about the future, is that Spriggan actually has a big distaste for humans, and it seems like Elias himself. And while leaving, we get some very interesting dialogue from Spriggan about why he dislikes Elias and why he doesn't want Elias coming to their own kingdom or their place wherever they live. He says to the king, he says, "Think of all the people and spirits that were lost because of him." And what could this mean? What does this mean for Elias as a character? Clearly there's a lot that we don't know about Elias and his backstory, and I cannot wait. It seems like it's a really darker backstory than I expected for Elias to have, and might explain his lack of empathy for humans and other people in general. Another really interesting cut that I did not expect from this episode and this story is when Renford and Alice are leaving at the beginning of the episode. They're leaving, they have no need to stay there because the corruption is gone. Chise has already eliminated it, and Chise makes an interesting note that Renford actually seems relieved that he didn't have to do anything. Once again, further proving that Renford is not a bad guy at all. In fact, he seems like a really nice guy. Just doesn't like mages and Elias in particular. Why he's relieved, I don't know. Maybe because he just didn't want to fight them, didn't want to cause any more trouble, didn't want to have to harness the corruption. Who knows, but it shows to me that he is a good guy deep down. But while they're walking away, they walk into the forest, and who do we see but that piece of shit sorcerer? I knew he would appear again, but I did not expect him to appear again this soon. And the way that Renford and Alice approach him seems like they're talking to each other, or they're accomplices, like they know each other and they're working together. It may even be that the sorcerer sent Renford and Alice to get the corruption in the first place. So that is really interesting to me. I am excited to see where this development goes. We can see in the next episode preview that Renford, Alice, and the sorcerer are all coming back, so that's going to be interesting to see. And finally, at the end of the episode, we get a very brief cut of the character that has been shown in the opening for so long. I assume this is the character that everybody told me to wait for until I watched the OVAs, just because he is in the OVAs himself. So I'm glad he's finally shown up. I'm really excited to see what his character is like and how he plays off of the other main characters, Chise, Elias, Silky, etc, etc. But that's been all from me for this episode review of Ancient Magus' Bride. I know it was a shorter review just because there wasn't really a lot to talk about, and that's what I wanted to bring up here and ask you guys a question. Does the series ever really pick up and get into something where it's less slice of life and more drama, more adventure, more things happening in each episode? Because the approach they've taken so far isn't bad. It's been good. They've had good episodes and it's been fun watching, but it is really hard for me to review weekly when I just don't have many things to talk about, and it's more of a slow burn show overall. So what I've been considering is not reviewing it weekly, but at the halfway point, doing a retrospective review on all the episodes that I didn't cover, and then doing something similar for the end of the series, and just looking back and talking about it as a whole, versus reviewing it weekly, where honestly it's getting harder and harder to review this series just due to the way it's presented. Like, I don't want anybody to think I'm not enjoying it, because I am. It's a good series. It's just harder to talk about week by week. So yeah, that's my question. Just tell me if it picks up and gets into a stride of like more things are happening and it's becoming less slice of life, because somebody did say that the next episode is where things get cool and it starts picking up. So if it does get that way, I will try to continue reviewing it, but if it doesn't, I feel like I should be dropping it as a review series, just because reviewing things already, editing and doing this is already hard enough, and I want to save those for series that I can talk about week by week and have lots of things to say. So yeah, just let me know. I know it's going to be disappointing hearing it if I do drop reviewing the series, because I know some people were having fun watching them and talking to me on each episode. I will say I'm still going to be watching watching it week by week. So if you still want to talk to me about the episodes week by week and I do stop reviewing it, feel free to post a comment on my channel discussion thing or talk to me on Twitter. I'm available either or, and I'd be happy to discuss the episode still, even if I don't make videos for it. So yeah, I'll be waiting for you guys' answers to that, although the ultimate decision will be when I watch next week's episode, and if I feel like it is worth talking about, I'll make a review for it. If not, just assume I dropped reviewing the series and I will be doing a retrospective halfway point review after episode 12 or 13, whenever the season shifts and it's the halfway point. I'll be doing a video on it then. I hope you guys understand. I hope nobody's too disappointed. Everybody on my Magus reviews seems really chill and fun to talk to, so I'm hoping that's not a problem. You guys understand regardless. But yeah, I just wanted to be straight up, do what I think is best for my channel, and doing this series the justice it deserves. I don't want to just be half-assing reviews every single week. Like, I want to talk about it when I have something to talk about. So that's been all from me. Thank you guys so much for watching this Ancient Magus' Bride review. Stay tuned this Wednesday for my Made in Abyss chapter review. That's gonna be fun. And as always, have a great day.